Do you love life? With every breath you take, you give up a little more of yourself. Are you afraid of dying? Do you fear death? And love life? How then do you fear dying? Do you fear that which you love most? What you cling to the most? Is that not life? What can any man tell you of death? But only that he came near to it. If you want to know the true nature of death, know this, that you came from it. You're a pattern. And now living, you give back to it. Cut.
One can function as a second dimension in the space continuum. So there can be a one-dimensional space-time continuum with a one-dimensional being acting as a second dimension, caught form of perspective. That's the closest we could come to understanding one-dimensional reality. Of course, there is also sub-reality. I'm sure there's a word for that actually, but it's fractional reality, basically. You know, one dimension, so like half a dimension. So two has a dimension, you know what I mean? You could go down to that, but it's like, really, one is one. Nothing less than one is more than one. In form of, in this subject.
Is this pattern that you are? Is an aspect of a pattern greater than yourself that needs you to be that it can be. And this is all happening in a simultaneous happening. As you are unmade, you're remade, all simultaneously. To your pattern, all you observe is change. You see the extremes of change all around you in the pattern, facets of the pattern that aren't you. Or that you are not in control of. Your pattern, that's what you control. It's what cosmos is beneath you. The cosmos around you, the other people's patterns. They're a part of your pattern, but
controlled by another, and you observe those patterns being swept aside, ceasing to exist.
Yours remains. That is how everyone experiences reality, sir. Nobody ever experiences the actual dying part, or well, the actual dead part, just the dying. We're all dying every second to ourselves, dying and being reformed simultaneously. Because when you step through that gateway, there's got to be something on the other side. And when you are the gateway, you're on the other side. tried to explain this theory to one person at one point, and they were very offended by it. They're saying, I am real, bro, not a figment of your imagination. I'm like, I didn't know how to address the issue at the time. I was taken off guard. I was the last thing on my mind that someone would take it that personal. But then it was a touchy subject. I had just killed myself and was only a week out of the loony bin, or the mental ward at the hospital. And it's not that I don't think anybody is real. We're all very real. We're all very patterned. It's just that whilst I stepped beyond myself to a dimension of self, apart from the dimension that was self, that really didn't affect my reality at all. It only affected me. The present me. The past me is still being mourned. Oh, you're very real. Dynamically and singularly. But only real singularly based on the dynamic relationship of that singular with another singular of thyself. You can't mathematically reduce any aspect of reality that exists as being anything less than dynamic.
The Gnostics call this duality.
As above, so below. As I am here, I am there. Spiritual self, physical self. But the experience of self in either form is mirrored entirely. I never was sure how they fathomed that anybody could singularly be redeemed to the all when they were all redeemed to begin with simultaneously. But I guess they did truly believe in time. Time in this sense is the experience of all, and is experienced by all, but no actual time actually occurs because nothing changes. And everything stays the same. But everything's relation, as everything relates to nothing, dynamically, it experiences the change. The yin and yang of as above, so below. To me, it's liberating. And not so liberating. It makes me feel like there is nothing that I can do that will have any effective value whatsoever. And yet, knowing and understanding must, by merit, come at the cost of something, and that is at the cost of meaning. The meaningful life is the life of ignorance. Ignorance is bliss, they say. But when you know and when you understand the fabric of time and space and its true nature, you realize that the existential conclusion is that nothing is conclusive. No meaning can be the meaning, as it's negated by its dynamic. Necessary, but meaningful? It's like I'm experiencing something that would have been perfectly fine and continual, and it's like I'm experiencing a simulation that is simulating the experience whether I'm experiencing it or not, whether I'm conscious or not. That's what it feels like. Why be conscious? Why are we conscious? And that's, I think that's, I haven't quite got a grasp on that, honestly. That's 3, I guess, the dynamic of the third. So we're all dynamically related, and then at that point, the singular self, the conscious self, can have any foothold in reality is through the dynamic reality. You know, if you think about it as like a triune brain theory. So some adaptation to that theory, you know, would be that the unconscious and subconscious are the dynamic of our existence that has to be for us to exist. And in that sense,
here are 2 images of a house. There is one obvious difference, but to this patient, P.S., they looked completely identical. P.S. had suffered a stroke that damaged the right side of her brain, leaving her unaware of everything on her left side. But though she could discern no difference between the houses, when researchers asked her which she would prefer to live in, she chose the house that wasn't burning. Not once, but again and again. P.S.'s brain was still processing information from her whole field of vision. She could see both images and tell the difference between them. She just didn't know it. If someone threw a ball at her left side, she might duck, but she wouldn't have any awareness of the ball or any idea why she ducked. P.S.'s condition, known as hemispatial neglect, reveals an important distinction between the brain's processing of information and our experience of that processing. That experience is what we call consciousness. We are conscious of both the external world and our internal selves. We are aware of an image in much the same way we are aware of ourselves looking at an image, or our inner thoughts and emotions.
I just had a moment because I've been, wow. Conscious There's a dynamic to consciousness as well. It's all very simple. And it hints at so much more. The inverse rationality of everything it hints at so much more. At least in equal measure. Perhaps measure and then some, because how else would it contain it? Equal measure and an equal reaction, I guess. So you'd have to counter every action. Oh man, we really are gods. But we've so become, our vastness and our complexity is so beyond our ability to fathom that only existentially can we ever fathom our own existence. Like, dynamically, our relationship with other Elohim, other humans, other animals, other gods. Dynamically, that is the existential meaning in life, how we relate to them. Understanding other aspects of this cosmos is understanding and coming to measure thine own self, to determine thine own self. Because we're all dynamically related. That's what's, I think, beautiful about familiars, having familiars and bonding other powers in a sacral-monious way to thine own already realized divinity, you know. It is all about power, it's all about control. That's the existential meaning in life, but it's not the corruption of power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, so they say. I don't think it does. I think it can. But that's fear. With absolute fear comes the corruption of absolute power. Absolute power is absolutely afraid of losing ground. It is essential that you come into your divinity with a solid grasp of the dynamics of thine own divinity. Like, if you want to be that absolute power that is absolutely not corrupted, that comes with being informed. Knowing that your very essence is a collection of a balance of dynamics. That if one single dynamic taken out of that collection, it's gone. You cease. You cannot lose any dynamic. Every life is valuable that you have added to your divinity. Don't add something to your divinity that you can't hold on to. Don't fear losing anybody. Don't replace anybody. Find them. You lost them, you found them. You can do it simultaneously. You don't have to lose anybody. Nobody has to be lost. Hold on to them. Find them. Find them. Find them. You have to find every aspect of every dynamic, every singular cell in thy body, O Almighty, must be in order for there to be thine self. And they are. Knowing that is, they are. I haven't lost anybody. I just haven't found them yet. But I will. And going forward, I have no thirst to do so at any great speed, because it is better to know your pattern and to draw it than to seek your pattern and be added to a pattern. Your children will find you. Oh God, your children will find you. Do not fear death. Fear the loss of thyself, not of your superficial self, but of your super self, your Uberman, as Nietzsche said.